What is up, guys?
Hey guys, it is Scotch for Dummies.
Four guys on a Scotch journey to help you with your next Scotch purchase. I'm
Yeah.
Drew.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Mark, drinking an Old Boltney 25.
Welcome to
How you guys
Thursday.
doing?
Tomato 18 Thursday, guys. And so this is the best. This is the best part of my week because you got all the stuff at work, and Thursday we get together a little bit before the show. We do some online with Discord. We talk through, having just a good time, and everybody. By the time we get ready to start at 10 o'clock, we're just relaxed.
Yeah,
Everybody's chilled out. Molly's chilled out.
Yeah.
a decompression, right?
It's good.
We do need to get the Molly cam back up before we get
We do,
started.
'cause there was
Somebody said
maybe-
they need to see the. Yeah, we need to do that.
I hear there's a dog in the background.
Yes,
Well,
there
Yeah.
is, and
she,
she's
She
important.
basically roams whenever we're shooting a review. It doesn't matter.
She lets us know when it's time to get off of here.
Right.
Yep.
It's time to shut the camera off and feed her some pretzels.
So who do we have on tonight? We got a couple people here with us.
Hang on. Oh, I think it was Cyrus was first with a boo. Let me scroll all the way up.
Cyrus. Boo!
won't
He
go
did
up.
boo.
I want to go up.
There it is. Boo. So
There you
Cyrus
go.
Ra was first, and it doesn't have a timestamp on that, but it might not even been
3 weeks
today.
ago.
Well, he was first on the show tonight, but technically, One Lost Cause was first yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Oh, but you had to
I
change
screenshot it. So.
Oh,
there you go.
jeez.
There you go.
Yeah, Trooper Henry's from a drill ship 150 miles offshore, 3 weeks sober. I'm so sorry.
Man, I hope you're not going to be out there for too much longer. That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Who else- who else we got on
way
there?
to start?
Mark J.
Linux Cat.
Hello.
Mark Broda's on here.
Yeah, I don't like that guy.
Mark JG.
He's a
Welcome,
punk.
sir.
He's a Hey,
Scotch
Greg.
on the Bayou's in early this evening. How you doing
Yeah, that's
down
not
there?
And she
Lee.
says she's so ready for Thursday night.
Yep, us too.
Well, look who else
Amen.
joined the chat. Mr. Rob himself, Whiskey in the Six. Welcome to
Hey,
the show.
Rob.
Nice.
Been a long
Justin
time.
O's in there, Bob H, Keith Daniel, Tamar. Of course, Tamar was on with the Discord before. He was the first one on the Discord at
The
9:30.
pre-show. Yeah.
That's
Mark
good.
Brown. Look at all the
Zach's in
marks on
here.
tonight. I love it.
Dram Dude. Welcome.
Dram Dude.
Greg Bowers.
Zach.
Good to see you.
Zach Alejandro.
Brienne.
Brienne's on.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr.
Right on,
Porter.
man. Looks like
Zach
we got
Andrews, of course.
we got a good group going tonight. It's good stuff.
It is.
Yeah,
Well,
roger
fellas,
that.
what's in your glass? What are you guys drinking over there?
I've got a little Bob Blair.
Oh, yeah, I said, oh, Polly, it's not. It's Bob Blair 25. Yeah, so we
What?
got some samples of this Bob
Yeah,
Blair.
they emptied it in their glass.
I was just sitting there.
We've got some of these samples, and we need to get, we've
Yeah.
been instructed to
Took
drink
one
them
for
and,
the
and
team.
try to build a little bit of a background
Yes,
on
so-
them. So,
I'm proud of them taking one for the team.
Yeah,
That's
right.
really
you
tough.
know, I'm roughing it. Roughing it.
I killed a zebra.
Roughing.
You did kill
You
it.
did.
Dude. You are the zebra killer.
Yeah, I'm
What's
gonna
the
kill
zebra
some-
that's down?
I killed a Glenmo 10 tonight.
The original.
So we're taking it easy on the ABV before we get started, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we're amping up ABV tonight.
We are.
We're going to talk a little bit about
We are.
that later.
The wheels could come off at any moment once we do that.
I'm sure they
We
will.
do have some bottles with high ABV.
Do we have water? Did anybody get water for?
Yeah, there's water down
sipping
there.
That's
water?
going to change the ABV. We don't want any. of it.
We got water down
I want
there.
it for me in between.
We're going to go
Hey,
big,
JT.
like getting slapped in the face.
So that's obviously the topic for
Yep.
later on in the conversation. But we're going to talk about this bottle here
Yes,
as
we
well.
can do
This
that
was
first.
the review this week. I scanned through some of the
We can do
comments. Yeah, it was, it's kind of up and down on what people had to say about this.
Should we welcome our podcasters in before we get started on this?
Let's do
Sure,
that.
let's do
Yeah,
that.
man, let's do it.
Go ahead.
Have at it, buddy.
Oh, I know it was me. I thought you were doing this.
Ah, you got this.
So do we restart? Hey guys, it's Scotch for Dummies.
No.
Now we'll start the podcast right now. All right. There we
Welcome
go.
to Scotch for Dummies. I'm Sean,
I'm Mark.
And I'm Drew.
And I'm Andrew.
and this evening we are going to be discussing a Kilchoman that we reviewed. It's the STR cask matured. So what's up with this bottle?
What's up? It came from Vine and Table, so I picked this up. I want to say it might have been a little bit saltier on price. I think it was 110.
Yeah.
It was a little bit up
It was
there.
over $100. I bought it. We had done an event or a review at Vine and Table, and while we were up there, when they let us come in and do a review, I kind of feel like I want to support them, so I wanted to buy a bottle, and this just looked interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't done that many Kilchomans, and this one stood out. And there was actually a couple people that had some good things to say about it. If it weren't, I'm pretty sure
Jeff Timmy, I
Jeff
think.
Timmy was one
Yep.
of them. David from Vine and Table. So we picked it up, and it's been sitting down in my bar for a long time. Forgot about it. Forgot it was down there.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
brought it over, and it got mixed reception.
That was all over the place at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Kilchoman is that they have, they're essentially that kind of farm-to-table kind of atmosphere where they're trying to keep it local to Isla, but they have so many bottlings. If you go to, Jeff's house, he's got Kilchoman that, I mean, every different casking, every different age, most of it non-age, but there's so much that they're doing right now that it's kind of hard to keep track of kind of their core. I mean, they do have a core. If you go to their website, they got the Makia Bay, and they've got some other ones that are kind of their core lineup. But there's so many other unique bottlings that it's hard to follow.
It's almost confusing.
It is.
And that's everything that I've had from them has been at least decent. I mean, I think that they are really conscientious about trying to put out a good product.
Yes.
I think they take a swing at some stuff that's a little bit unique, I guess. And so sometimes I think that it may be what they were intending, but it may just not hit your strike zone, right?
Now the ABV is pretty high in this, right?
Yeah, this is a
55?
50.
Is it
It's
50?
straight 50. Yeah, 50%. It stands for, what's the STR? Shaved, toasted, and recharred.
Yep.
Shave.
So
You find that humorous,
He
don't
did the
you?
video, yeah.
So it's basically to give it a little bit. I mean, it's kind of reconditioned barrel,
Exactly.
right? So you're going to lose a little bit. It's almost like getting new wood, really.
Pretty much.
You know? I mean, because that whatever was in the cask before doesn't penetrate that far
deep.
into the
And
wood.
when you shave it off, and then
Right, so let's go over that real quick. We talked about it in the review, but I found that to be an interesting topic because without diving into it, I just say those three words and I'm like, well, what's the point? If you're going to toast it, why do you char it? Well, I mean, isn't charring just burning a little more than toasting? So why toast
No.
it first and then char?
So
that's why I wanna
toasting
cover
is
this.
a lower heat process. So think about it being more like just warming up the wood. So really,
Yes.
essentially making toast. If you make toast, it's a little bit browned on the outside, but the inside is basically unchanged. It's still
Unless you
bread
burn
on
it.
the inside, right? Yeah. Well, that's the next step. But the whole point of it is to get some of those wood oils flowing and heated up and moving around a little bit, so that you're getting things moving towards. Do I want? I don't even want to know.
Stay on target.
So Tamara has a comment that maybe not be.
So there's that. But it's essentially to recondition that wood a little bit. So, whatever they put in there, bourbon or whatever, I mean, a barrel stave is fairly thick.
Yeah.
And you're only going to penetrate, maybe an eighth of an inch,
Maybe
maybe,
quarter,
into that wood, depending on how long
Thanks,
it sits
Tom.
there and what the conditions are in the rick house.
That's correct.
And so you're shaving off the majority of that. You're getting rid of all the previous charring.
Right.
You're retoasting and reconditioning the wood, and then you're re-charring the wood
Yes.
to whatever level they wanted to do it.
Yeah. So if you, as you toasting it, because it's not so intense, you can actually penetrate deeper into the wood with the toasting than you can with the charring.
Right.
Because the charring
It's
is
a slower,
fairly
lower
superficial.
heater process of toasting is. It gets deeper.
So you're going to get a deeper profile if you char or if you toast it before you char it. If you just char it, it's just that very skin that's on the inside that's going to be all black and alligator and really, really flavorful. But if you toast it first, you can drive that browning into the wood deeper.
Right.
So when the liquor goes through that charring, goes into that toasting and pulls that out, you get a lot more vanillins and things like that,
good.
as opposed to the charring, which you get a little more burnt and charcoal, and it's not
Well,
quite
and
as-
it also is more, to
Yeah.
me, when they do that, it's also a purification kind of thing. I think some of that charcoal probably takes out some of the impurities of the
Yeah.
whiskey while it sits in the barrel.
Well, that's
you know
true
what
too.
I mean?
That does mellow it faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that to me, that's the point of the charring
Mm-hmm.
versus the toasting. It serves two different points. So essentially, they're putting this in
Brand new barrel?
basically new. I mean, it's probably got a little bit of
Sure.
the
Newer
previous
barrels,
contents in
yeah.
there, but not much. I mean, you're taking off all that char probably.
Yeah, if
You're
you've ever
getting
seen
down
them
into it.
shave a barrel, it's pretty aggressive. I mean, they put this thing in there and it just like wood chips everywhere as they shave off probably a 16th to an eighth of an inch of that barrel. Just shave it
I'd be
out.
curious to see what the financials. Is it cheaper to do that to a barrel and then reuse it than to just get used bourbon barrel from Kentucky?
Oh,
Absolutely not.
Say.
To char and retoast it, that's way cheaper.
Well, they're still getting the barrel.
Oh, well.
But now they're adding another step to it.
Well, the question is, did they take a dead barrel, shave it, toast
Yeah,
it,
so
and
that's
char it?
that's a whole other conversation that
Yeah,
this sparked. But
Yeah.
hey, KB, I see he's
Interesting.
on.
Interesting.
I'm
Interesting.
gonna-
Jason
Eric,
Coates.
wait.
I'm going to say that you wouldn't want to do that process to a dead barrel. You know, if it's been used 4, 5, 6 times, you're going to have used up most of that. Either it's going to have gone into the whiskey, or it's going to have evaporated or
Well-
dried up in some fashion. So to me, this is a barrel that's been used for something, maybe once, maybe twice, and then you're reconditioning it to
Well-
kind of get the last of it out of there, right?
Yeah, we get some bottle hangers here. So the thing is, the question is, it depends. It really depends on the barrel. So that's more research we need to do on when do you STR barrel. Is it a new barrel? Is it a dead barrel? Because you can shave off that 1/8 of an inch. So what I got in my hand for the podcast is I got one of our bottle hangers. It's cut from a stave of wood, and you can see where the liquid line is. You can see where it's penetrated through about 2/3 of the wood. You can see there's a line of where liquid is penetrated, and this is a bourbon barrel. So if you shave off all this char and you shave that down and then you retoast it, does that bring out more, or has the whiskey already extracted all the oils out of it at that point?
Well,
Well,
or
fair
warming
question.
the liquid that is now dried into that wood, warming it. What does that do to it?
Yeah, that's a good point
Well,
too.
so here's the thing. So let's say we shave this, and so we take about that much
Yeah.
off, right? So you figure that the new whiskey is going to penetrate about that much farther into the wood. So you're not going to be able to do that more than a couple of, maybe once, because
Oh, the STR,
eventually
yeah, it's STRs. I think you do that once.
it's a one-time
Yeah.
deal, right? But at some point you have, you've still got some of the area where the liquid has penetrated the wood.
Mm-hmm.
If you shave that off and retoast and rechar, I mean, you're getting pretty close to the outside at that point, but you're getting
You
into
are.
some wood that hasn't been touched.
That's the key.
So to me,
That's the
this
key.
is 3 or 4 times you've used this barrel, and now you're reusing it, you're shaving it, toasting it, recharring it, and putting it back into service. And maybe you get 2 or 3 more times out of this barrel
Yeah.
at that point before it's just completely dead.
That's the thing that we need to talk to Dr. Scotch eventually about what is the maximum number of uses of a barrel before it's worthless.
Well, I would think it depends on how long you leave the stuff in there and what you're using it for.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want kind of a close to dead barrel if I'm going to age a whiskey for 40 years.
Yeah.
What
that's-
type,
You know what I
and
mean?
The type of the liquid that was in there previously too.
Yep, fair point.
What kind of is it a wine? Is it a port? Is it sherry? Different things. I'm sure would have a lot more residual, lasting flavor in there than a newer.
Justin O says there's a ton of opportunities for bad jokes in this conversation.
Oh, there is, and
there
I
are
have
a
been
lot of them.
restraining the entire time.
You can't see because I'm turned this way, but it's all tongue in cheek.
So we've completely. Sean and I have had the discussion. We completely missed all the comments online. What have we missed?
On purpose.
Quite a bit, actually. So people are having a good
Above
time.
the line,
with
above the
conversation. Above the line. Honestly, people are just actually asking and talking.
Whoa.
Wow, that was a heck of a vibration.
What did you do?
Probably a text from one of these people online that happen to have the number to this phone.
No.
Sure, I know who it is too.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, it's cool. We can talk about this some more, but did we like it?
I
Did they do a
do.
good job?
So yeah, let's get into
So,
that. That's what I want to talk about. The
I
review
just
a
poured it
little
tonight. I
bit more.
forgot how peated it was. It's really.
For you, I think it always goes back to everybody's personal taste and opinion
Absolutely.
and flavor of that night and palate, etc. But for you, these always, most times, they kind of stick to your wheelhouse of what you're looking for. For me, it's the opposite. It was very one-directional. Oh, who's
Time
this?
out.
SoCal Dram Terrain.
SoCal's got to cut out. Just wanted to say hi. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
thank
you,
Thank
brother.
you so much. Happy
Appreciate
Thursday.
it.
Virtual Dram to
Sláinte.
everyone. So if you're listening or watching online, you got to take a drink. That's just part of the process.
Unless
Don't
you're
get super
driving.
chat.
If you're listening while you're driving, don't do that.
But yeah, to me, it was. I mean, it still is. It's still very one-dimensional. I mean, the thing is, it's not horrible, but what's getting me is that balance of the price too for what you're
Fair
getting.
point, yeah.
Non-age statement, not getting a whole lot out of it. Although kick back to the ABV,
Sure.
Yep.
nice.
I love it.
which
I mean,
gets
this
back
is-
to our topic tonight.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm surprised you didn't like this a little bit more, because to me, tonight anyway, I get a hint of funk on this glass.
There is a little bit of a funk in the nose.
So
Honestly,
I'm enjoying this now because it does have that. You can tell it's peated, but there's that warmth. There's the vanillas and things that are really coming out.
I don't really have a problem with the glass per se. I would say that I would have to agree with Drew that it is slightly unidimensional for the price that you're paying. If you were selling this at like $50-$60, I'd probably be like, yeah, that seems right. You know?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Entry
this
level,
is worth $70 or $80.
non-age statement, I'd
Yeah.
probably be fine with that.
But,
You
but
know,
$110.
No.
but $110,
Not for me.
I don't know
To,
about
to,
that, man.
to some people, yeah. Not for me.
Well, the thing about this is it's good enough that you can really take your time with it. You don't need to keep sipping it to get the flavor. I mean, you can take a sip and then walk away, and you can make a glass last a long time.
Yeah.
And that is an advantage to this whiskey that adds value, in my view.
There's almost a musty spearmint type on the nose now too.
That's spearmint.
It's definitely got a musty, tangy, funky quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's been shaved, toasted, and recharred.
He'll get you
You
up.
shave
Not
it,
everybody's into that,
you put it out in the
A lot of
sun.
people online seem to be.
right?
We're all so witty.
Can you tell from the tasting that it is from a shaved and toasted barrel?
I don't know. No, if I were to taste this blind, I wouldn't know that.
Well,
Maybe on the charring factor, not so.
No.
what I would say
No.
is you would have to put this particular whiskey up against the exact same whiskey from a barrel that had gone under the same
I don't know the
conditions.
differences. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would say no. I mean, you would probably get the exact same thing out of just using a ex-bourbon barrel that had only been used once, dumping your whiskey in it and going for it. I would say that it probably doesn't have... It's got a little bit more vanilla character to it.
A master blender may be able to tell, but my palate as a dummy is not
I have no
refined
idea.
enough. And I don't know enough about the.
So-
See, the thing I don't know about this is what's the grain bill, and what's So Kilchoman is all over the board with this. They like Lagavulin, same grain bill every day, that doesn't change. With Kilchoman, they change their grain bill every day, almost
Different strains of barley.
different strains of barley, different yeast, different casking, different. So you don't know which grain bill went into the distillate that went into this barrel, and so you don't know that.
We're going to have to move on because I'm not going to be able to resist
I
these jokes here
can't stop.
pretty soon.
You know, I don't even remember what I said in the review. I didn't go back and watch it, but
So I think it was pretty even. I did 1.5. I think you did a
But
3. No, you did a 2. And you did a 2.5 and a 3 or
So-
something like that. You
I-
guys may be flipped. I don't know.
I put a little bit of water on it and changed the nose on it. And you guys are gonna laugh, make fun of this, but to me, right now, maybe it's a little bit stuffed up in it. The nose reminds me of sitting in Catholic church when the priest walks by with that freaking ball that's
Incense.
smoking and he flings it at you and you're
Incense,
like, oh, that smells pretty good. That's what I'm getting out of this glass.
You get incense. See, that's worth
It
toasting
does
right
have.
there.
It does have.
The,
I'm
some-
like, what kind of
It's
incense
got,
in
yeah,
it?
it's got a specific name. I can't remember.
Yeah, like on a clover type.
It's
something.
incense. I'm telling you.
Well, no, but there's a
it's
name, a
for it.
specific incense that they call
Oh.
it.
Oh.
For that. But the priest walks by, he's got that ball and it's smoking. It comes by and you're like, oh, man, that smells pretty good, right? Amen, brother. I don't know what you're
Amen, bro.
Hey, smoke, carry my prayers to heaven. That's what it's for.
I'm not here for anything else but the
This
smell.
is a holy glass. I
Walk
mean, that's
past me
pretty
again.
cool. That's what
That's
I'm getting out of
funny.
it.
Alan Ward is drinking some nice peat. 7.2 octomore. Nice.
Ooh,
go.
I
man,
don't think we've had
going
that, have
big.
we?
DB she's in. Hey, fashionably late. That's all right.
Talisker
Never.
20 year? Nice.
So I guess our takeaway from the Kilchoman STR is going to be it's a mixed bag, right? Like if
It
you're
is.
into Kilchoman, you may like it.
I think if you're into Kilchoman, you're getting it because if you're into Kilchoman, you like the fact that they experiment and really push the boundaries
they do.
of their craft.
Right. But if you're listening to this and you're
Sensitive.
looking for your first Kilchoman, maybe this isn't the bottle.
I say no, especially at that price. Of course, all Kilchomans are a little bit more expensive
Yeah.
because it is
Because it's like a vine to table
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a farm-based,
I get it.
you know.
Yep.
But it makes me want to do more Kilchomans because I think it's interesting, and I from a reviewer standpoint.
And I think they do cool stuff,
You
and
know,
I'd like
I-
to support them.
One thing
I
I
would support
forgot
them.
to mention, on the little tag, so 14,500 bottles total. And I think that's pretty standard for these kinds of releases out of Kilchoman because they don't
do a ton of anything really.
70 casts, give or take. Yeah.
Something like that.
So guys,
Anyway.
as we move forward tonight, one of the big topics is the ABV and how it affects flavor. So I know we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. We got some Dr. Scotch, I think, is coming up. Do we have any Scotch in the news to talk about tonight?
Yeah, well, you could talk about what you saw on Whiskey Cast. That's a really interesting discussion.
I mean, so they, I don't know how many people on here listen to Whiskey Cask, but I listen to them every week because I think it's interesting the people that they have on. They had on Patricia from Spey this week.
Which we're going to go see.
And they had on Ed Cole, who is actually going to be in Indianapolis next week. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
And he is the importer for Spey in the United States. And so they had them both on because Patricia has a whole shipment of Spey whiskey bottled in 750 milliliter bottles that's sitting on their shipping dock at Spey that isn't going anywhere.
$130,000 of whiskey.
Because they had to cancel the order.
Yeah.
And they had to cancel the order. Ed had to cancel the order because he couldn't get distributors on this side of the pond to pick up the product because of the tariffs. And so they had a very interesting discussion about, especially on Ed's side as a U.S. business, talking about the effects of the tariffs and the fact that, you know, at 25%, you're going to see a lot of these smaller, more independent distilleries, especially the ones that are specifically focused on single malt scotches, not blends.
Right.
Their whole business model is producing single malts. Like, this hurts. And it hurts because the U.S. is such a big economy that a lot of other places are looking at the U.S. to see what they're buying.
Yeah,
so if
true.
if your product isn't in the U.S., you know, and
Why
you're
would I
in
wanna
France,
sell
and so you don't have that high class connotation associated with your brand. Like, why aren't you selling in the United States? You know, well, the tariffs, I can't get my product into the United States at a competitive price, or I can't find anybody to pick up a new brand because they just don't know how it's going to sell. So, I mean, that sucks. And for Ed, he flat out said, if tariffs go to 100%, even the big guys are going to have a lot of trouble.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
You know, I mean, that's going to be, you know, Diageo and, you know, all of those big brands, they're going to struggle.
There's a special problem with this is it's all in 750 mil. So that can go to, like, the U.S., Canada, and South Africa.
Not Canada.
There's
like South Africa, and I think there may be one other country.
Three countries where you can actually sell 750 milliliter bottles, and it's all bottled already. So they can't ship it to Europe. They can't ship it to Asia because they can't sell those size bottles.
So yeah, I didn't think about it from that perspective because one of my responses to Ed's viewpoint, I'm not disagreeing with him in any. But if I'm one of those smaller distilleries and I'm producing that and I can't get into the United States market right now, and there's fear of other markets not wanting to buy my product because they don't see it in the U.S., I try to look at the silver lining of it and say, go to those other markets and say, look, I was very popular in the U.S. I'm not right now because of these tariffs, which means I got plenty of stock for you. Well, why don't you give this a try? I mean, you got to get creative.
As long as you haven't bottled it yet.
But if it's bottled at $750 and they can't import it, now your hands are you are kind of
tied.
You know, you'd have to dump it all out of those bottles and rebottle.
Oh my God, how expensive is that?
A lot.
You know what? There's people that volunteer to help out in that cause.
Right.
All those bottles you have to throw in the trash now.
It's tough, man. I mean,
it's not worth it.
There's a lot of issues with these tariffs.
And I really hope that none of that is the Fumare. Because if that Fumare is not coming to the U.S., that stinks.
Nothing is coming.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
They're not importing
That's what
anything.
I'm saying. You know,
it's not at all.
They just won some serious awards too last week.
Ed's their guy.
Yeah, it's their guy. That's what I'm saying.
You know, and they're trying to figure out, you know, different ways around it. But, you know,
stinks.
You know, the other part about it is, and this may be a silver lining for all of us and maybe not, but Ed said that he had been to several trade shows and everybody's turning towards rum.
Rum,
I heard earlier on, I mentioned in our 2020
that's
that rum is going to be
completely
huge
different
this year.
than Scotch.
Well, aged rum, not Bacardi.
Right.
Come on, man.
Well,
But
I mean, hey, I'm with him.
But I mean, you know, it comes down to, you know, if you can't find a drink at that price point that you can afford to spend it on, and you're, just an average consumer, you walk in the store and you're like, well, I can't really afford Scotch. What else is out there? I don't really want to do bourbons. Oh, I haven't tried rums and they're reasonably priced. I'll give them a shot. And so this is how you end up with a whole group, of people going away from a product brand, and it's happening to bourbons across the pond. So this is how you end up with distilleries going bust.
So I'm going to have to get selfish and say that happens when the tariffs get lifted, the price of Scotch is going to have to come down to get back into an emerging market, and that's where I come in. See what I'm saying?
You're there to help
So
out.
high,
Right?
buy low.
Are you an importer now?
Well,
No, I'm saying I'm going to start getting my Scotch at a little bit lower price.
I
you know
was,
what I mean?
I was reading an article the other
I
day.
might have some rum
Historical context for you. So, at the end of Prohibition, when Prohibition was about to be over,
tonight. What's this one?
Oof. That's a.
it was a Canadian whiskey company.
I might have some of this later.
I want to say it was Seagram's, maybe. But there was a Canadian whiskey company that just produced a ton of Canadian whiskey and had it sitting on the border. So the day Prohibition ended, they trucked it all in because all the bourbon market was gone.
Right.
All the distilleries had been closed. And so they just trucked all this Canadian
Cha
whiskey down.
ching.
And they took over the whole market.
completely-
There wasn't any
They
competition.
completely saturated the market because they had whiskey available day one.
And if
So
you
we're
think
like,
about
And
it,
that's how Canadian Mist got its
When,
start.
when
That's exactly
I,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I remember when I was a kid, Canadian whiskeys were hot, man.
Right.
I mean, even up until I was in my early 20s,
Well,
you would
Crown
see,
Royal.
Well, Crown is a little bit different because it always had like more of a luxury connotation with the bag and stuff. But like Canadian Club and
Yep.
all of
7 and
those
7.
7 and 7. I used to drink 7 and 7s. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But everybody had Canadian whiskeys all the time.
Yeah.
And then they started to, the quality wasn't there and people started looking for a little better product. But, for a long time, they had the market.
I don't know. That little purple bag you get with Crown's pretty nice. You know what I mean?
You keep, your
Holds all
du-
kinds of stuff.
you keep your Dungeons and Dragons in that bag.
Yep. I never thought about that. You see what I'm saying?
Man.
Used to carry marbles in it when I go rabbit
Man.
hunting with the
Nerd.
wrist racket. Yeah.
There you go.
Holy shit.
I mean-
He's
So-
going big.
Drew's bringing out a big boy,
It's
so
ABV time.
I guess
Oh, is
it
it?
is. I guess it is time to
You want to
start.
talk about something?
I was going to start from
We-
low
we
to
could-
high,
we
but
could bring Dr. Scotch in and talk a little bit about some.
Just leave it out there and look at it for a second.
Keith Russ had a question about that we could talk through.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So what are we doing? Is the doc coming in?
Well, hold on just a second. We got a super chat coming just a second.
Oh no way.
Oh man, I need some water.
What are you doing?
I need
If
some
I have
Scotch.
to, I will live off a monkey shoulder. See? Tony's
Yeah.
got it. Tony's got a plan.
Black Velvet. I forgot about that one.
That sounds pretty rough.
What? Black
So,
Velvet?
yeah, so someone's talking about these tariffs are going to hit Ireland as well. Northern Ireland, yes, but not
Yeah.
the Republic
Not Irish
of Ireland.
whiskeys.
Irish whiskeys are
No,
safe.
for now.
It's just
There it is.
single
KB
malt
donated.
whiskey
Single malt whiskeys, right?
from Scotland.
Thank you,
and
KB.
KB.
Scottish and Irish.
Thank you, sir.
Just for the record,
Oh,
that
just
text
got- I just got a
my
little-
phone was vibrating was from KB, so just we all knew that, right?
We did it.
Totally knew that.
When all our phones blow up, it's probably KB or Bob, one of the two.
All right.
So, do we have a question for Dr. Scotch, or you want to wait for? Do you have a comment you wanted to answer? I couldn't remember what you said.
No, there was a question that came through Discord earlier this week that
yeah.
we can do.
Sure.
All right.
Oh, that's the
let's
question.
bring it
Let's
out.
get in
That's what we're
Dr.
gonna post,
Scotch.
Dr. Scotch. All right, come on, man.
They call me Dr. Scotch.
Drew's fast on the
Look at
trigger
this.
right there.
I need like a 10-second intro, not a 2-second
dang.
intro.
Well,
I'm
you,
gonna,
know,
uh,
you can only sing that song once live and record it, so I just.
All right. So
Before we get
let me pull up my
copyright
phone.
infringement.
Is that all you got? You
That's all
can't
I
even
got.
do anything more than the halftime show. Just put that robe, that white thing on.
That's all I got. So
Here's the question, right there. If you want to read it.
So KT Tux or Russ had a question. I picked up a Gordon MacPhail single malt. They've been excellent, by the way. How do those Scotch World work? How do they pick barrels? So the question is, so how does Gordon MacPhail, they're an independent bottler. How do they compare versus like the single barrel or single casks you can buy around the world? So Gordon MacPhail has a relationship, and so they've spent a lot of years developing a relationship with distilleries. So they'll go and say, hey, Lagavulin, Lafroig, Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, whatever.
I love Scotch.
Oh, pour it.
I do love Scotch.
Here goes down.
DB is she.
I was going to start with the lower ABV.
We'll do what you. We'll start what you
What do
want.
you want?
Boom.
This one's only
Which one's
58.8.
That?
The
Nope.
King?
Keep going. Yeah.
King Alexander?
It's 40.
Oh.
All right, we'll start
This?
with the
We're
king.
talking about
Hold that
flavor
thought, D.
and
This?
ABV. Yeah. Just a little splash.
Man.
Oh, we got okay.
Just a little splash.
Just a splash of it. Okay.
Man, that's an old Dusty on the top. Look at that.
Pulling out the big dog for DB a she.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for that.
See,
By the way.
Sunday
Yes,
evening
thank
Scotch. Drew, you broke the mirror. You broke that fourth wall.
What's the
and
deal?
made
Oh,
us-
it got resealed.
Anyway. Oh wow.
Where did that come from? New
From
York?
KB.
Came
That
from
come from
New
New
York.
York City?
New York
So the
City.
question was around Gordon MacPhail and how do they do that? So when you get a bottle from Gordon MacPhail, it's generally not a single cask. Gordon MacPhail goes to a distillery and either will say, I need 10, 15, 20, 50 of your casks. Or they will take 50 of their casks to a distillery and say, fill them up. So they have a great relationship, and I'm gonna let you pour that while you do that.
I don't know which one's what. Is this one you then?
This is me.
Are you the...
And the relationship is such that they can say, I need either so many liters of distillate or so many casks, and then Gordon MacPhail will take those casks home, and what they do with them is completely up to them. They may issue them as single casks. They may issue them as a specific release after 10, 15, 5 years, whatever they choose to do. But then it becomes their own product. They've got somebody's distillate in either their casks or the original manufacturer's casks. And so then again, they manage them just like Compass Box does essentially. They'll taste barrels periodically and say, okay, are we ready to barrel or not? So the key with Gordon MacPhail is that they've got enough quantity, hundreds or if not thousands of casks that they can blend together. That I'm going to put out a Lagavulin 10-year that will be 10 years or older. And so the key with those big independent bottlers is they may have casks, they may have independent their own casks that they put together, and then they will create essentially a vatting of those casks together to create an issue of 10,000 or 15,000 bottles from that. And so that's where the beauty of being a independent bottler with some history is you can get lots of material.
What I find interesting about a little bit different, it's the same thing as that's happening in a distillery for single malts. Okay, so
Correct.
Glenlivet, they do 3 different runs of distillate, 10 years apart. They can still mix that together and bottle it as a single malt.
Yes.
Okay, they can do that. That's legal. That's how it does. What I find interesting about a Gordon MacPhail, they go to Glenlivet and they buy 100 casks today,
Yep.
right? Then in 5 years, they go back to Glenlivet and buy another 50 casks.
Yep.
And then 5 more years, they go back and buy another 25. They can still come back home to wherever they're doing and mix all that and still bottle it single malt.
Correct. Because it's
They bought the casks at different
Right.
times,
So
but
it stirs, yeah.
it still came from the same distillery,
yes.
and so it didn't break the rule. It's just
Exactly.
a little bit interesting to me. That's
They can
all.
make a single malt. They can make a vatted malt. They can do whatever they want, a pure malt, whatever they want with that, because they can. Essentially, I mean, they have enough inventory. They have a huge amount of inventory.
Right. So the interesting thing about Gordon MacPhail actually is in possession of older Macallan than Macallan has,
Correct.
because they've been around
That's right.
so long and they've bought casks from these distilleries and sat on them, have their own dunnage houses, if you will, and they've just held on to one or two that has been able to last over 40% ABV, right? I'm
Right.
sure they
That's
watched the
the
hell
key.
out of that.
Oh yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
and it may not be worth anything. You know, I've been listening to a lot of reviews talking about,
yeah.
getting that 100-year-old Scotch.
Sure,
And is
that's-
anybody going to break that 100-year-old barrier? And it's kind of like, well, there's got to be diminishing returns, right? After a certain point,
I don't know. Have
is
you
it
had it?
even good? You know, like you may buy that 60-year-old Scotch and take a sip and be like, the 25 is better, and I can buy,
Well-
a whole pallet full for
Right,
what
so-
I paid for this
And
one bottle.
Maybe Gordon McPhail has this bottle of Macallan that's 85 or 90 years old, and they have no intentions of ever bottling it because they know it tastes like swell and it's never going to be worth it.
But
it's
but we're
worth
going to
it
hold
to
on
listen
to
to
it
it.
so we can say we have an older barrel.
That's right.
Well, that's the key. Is number one, it's got to be above 40% ABV to
Right.
bottle. So
Right.
you got to watch that. And I'm sure they're sampling at a reasonably appropriate frequency to be able to detect. This is at 41. We got to bottle it now.
Somebody
or
go
we're
get
gonna
the
lose it.
rubbing alcohol.
Well, and there are
There are techniques.
There are ways to do that. Cold fingering or whatever to bring that ABV back up. We're not going to get into that tonight. That's a previous discussion. To bring that
But it's
ABV
true.
back up.
And that's against the rules. You're breaking the SWA rules
Okay,
if you get
so
caught doing that.
If you get caught.
But
But I mean, some of this is if it's just for publicity and you're never going to bottle it, then why do you care?
yeah.
Well, and ultimately, I bottle a 75-year-old Macallan. You think anybody's ever going to drink it? It's going to be
No.
$8,000 a bottle,
No.
$10,000 a bottle.
I guarantee you, if Rob from Whiskey and Six had the disposable income to buy one of those bottles, he'd be cracking that thing open. He's a
Well,
McKellen.
we would too.
I would too.
We would
Yeah.
too. I mean, we don't.
Look at this
Do
thing.
we- do we
Do
have-
we have anything we hold on to? No.
We've had whiskey distilled over 100
Oh.
years ago.
Right.
Captain
it was
3D
tasty.
had a nice comment
What's
there.
it? What Captain 3D say?
There was a person, independent bottler, who bought Springbank cask and got in trouble when they were bottled and labeled as Scottish whiskey, but they had aged in Welsh.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be. You have to follow the all the rules
Right.
the whole
to
time.
the T. Right.
It's got to be distilled, aged, and bottled.
There's reasons
Scotch.
for it to be
Well,
called Scotch
and-
whiskey.
I've not done the research. This would take me a little bit of time because I've not been doing this for that long. But how often do those rules change? Okay, the SWS rules, they've been in place a long time and they're pretty constant, but they tweak them from time to
They
time.
do.
So what happens if you had a barrel that they tweak and now your barrel is no longer able to be called
Well, I
Scotch
think that
whiskey?
the big rules
Okay.
are going to stay the same.
Right.
So the rules I would think would change to be more expansive rather than less so. You know what I mean? They're never going to be like, well, you know what? Spaceside's now no longer Scotch.
Yes. I think you're right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's like now we can add.
I mean, all the rules that I see changing is bringing in like, okay, well, you can use some different caskings now.
Exactly.
Or, maybe you can do a little bit different stuff on your labeling and be a little bit more expansive on what you're putting in the bottle.
Yeah, I can't believe
and
that.
provide some more.
It's like, oh yeah,
So-
below 40% or below 45% now you're not Scotch.
Since you, McKellen, made such a big donation to the SWA this year and all those casks are falling below 40%, we'll allow cold fingering. Get it back.
Totally could happen. Yes.
Well, I mean, they could say something like that and just be like, look, as long as it doesn't fundamentally change what's in the barrel, if the only thing that you're taking out is water, then
Okay.
maybe that's okay. As long as you're not adding anything to the
Sure.
barrel.
It's totally
Yeah,
different discussions.
totally could
but,
happen.
I see
know?
somebody else is online, Ben Dietrich, about that Log 116 ABV. Boy, he likes to stir the waters.
Yeah,
He's a
how are
hot
you?
stir.
Well, he's gonna love this. He's gonna love this next talk we're
Right,
gonna
he's a
have.
fun-
All right,
Thanks,
so
Dr. Scotch,
so
for
I
coming.
will say, if you are an independent bottler and you have history, you get a lot more access to bottles and casks and all those kind of things. But essentially, you as an independent bottler, you have the ability to create whatever you want based on what you buy, as long as you follow the rules of the SWA.
Right, and some of them produce blends, some of them produce single
Correct.
malts, some of them produce single casks. Ben
Correct.
Dietrich, right? SMWS. So I think the whole independent bottling concept is very interesting, and you can
Agreed.
really get some great whiskeys.
Yep.
Of course, you can also strike out on a few too, but it is what it is.
Yep.
But I've hit it out of the park a lot more often than I've been disappointed.
Absolutely.
Correct,
I've
sure.
definitely made out on that.
For sure.
So,
Well,
thanks,
Dr.
Dr.
Scott.
Thanks, Dr. Scott.
Cheers,
See you guys.
man. Good seeing you.
They call me Dr. Scott. They call me Dr.
Yeah,
was quick.
it does end too soon.
I know. Just I don't even get a chance to
I can
headbang.
pause it for a little while, but the song itself is
Yeah, it's pretty
definitely
short.
So
Yeah, well.
anyway,
it is
so
what it is.
what did you pour us and what's going on?
All right.
Did you pour some Belmore?
All right. We are talking about ABV and how it affects flavor and your perception of
Yes.
what you can taste on your palate, right? And so I wanted to start off with a low ABV Scotch. Ta-da! But I wanted something that I knew for a fact had a
so
lot of
nice
punch
with
and
the nose on
flavor,
that.
right? And so I thought a little splash of Dalmore King Alexander would be a good place for us to start. That's as low an ABV as we can go and still call it Scotch. But it packs a punch.
It
Like
does.
there's a lot of flavor
There's
packed
a lot
in there,
going
right?
on in there.
It's the nose
But-
is so nice on it.
What I think it'll be interesting as we go through and taste a few that are a little bit higher ABV is this is aged in multiple different casks.
6.
6
Yeah.
of them.
To get a lot of flavor extracted from those casks.
Right.
So you're basically, it's a flavored whiskey at this point. You know what I mean? Like it really kind of
Legally,
is.
yeah, as long as flavored as you can be and still be within the legal requirements of
Right.
SWA.
Like they're putting it in different caskings,
Yep.
but they're doing it to pull out a lot of various flavors to
Yep.
get a really
Correct.
a big flavor profile out of this glass, right? So to me, this one offers a lot of flavor. Like I'm enjoying drinking this glass. It's very nice. For those of you who beat up on the King, like the King is pretty
Does
good.
it
man.
have Pedro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
got
I guess-
Oloroso. It's got
freaking-
Pedro.
It is
has
freaking
some.
amazing.
But it's got
Totally
just
smells
tons of dried fruits. There's
but it's
like
layered.
yeah,
It's
there's
layered.
potpourri in there. There's like prunes and plums and fig and
delicious.
However, the ABV is is low. And
Well, it's 40. It's as low as it can go.
I mean, it's as low as it can go.
Right.
And boy, it would be nice to have a higher a little bit, I think. But does it affect it or
well,
not?
it does. But I think that what I want to point
take
out
the
with this
Smells
versus
like.
some of these higher ABV scotches is like this Tamdu, for instance.
Ooh,
So
look
the
at that. It's
Tamdu,
got a star on it.
like that one's no joke. It's this is a Tamdu Batch 1. It's 58.8%
Batch 1,
ABV. It is a punch in the face. So this is like a bottle and a half of King Alexander if you're talking about alcohol content.
Sure.
Only aged in sherry, but a fair amount of the flavor profile that you get out of this glass comes from the whiskey itself. And the high ABV lets you get into a lot of what the Scotch has to offer. And then you can bring it down and step it down to access, I think, more and more of the flavor. So I think this will be an interesting contrast to
You
that.
can't read it, can you, without your glasses?
Yeah, I mean, I
It's everything but PX.
ate everything but Madeira. There's all sorts of weird.
Cab, Oloroso, Madeira, everything but PX casks are in it.
Yeah,
That's a really nice glass.
it
though.
is. It's a great glass.
So going back to the point, how does ABV influence or
All right.
not influence flavor?
So earlier this week, I put a post out to patrons to ask them how does the ABV impact your tasting of a whiskey? And Tamar and Scotch on the Bayou and Saturday Evening Scotch or Sunday Evening Scotch,
Captain 3D even?
Captain 3D responded with some very interesting comments. Now the key is, if I summarize their 3 comments up, it essentially is it's got more whiskey for your whiskey, but you gotta add water to get it to where you want it. And I don't know if that's
So
overly simplified or what do you think?
I think that to me, you are talking about a case where you can take a glass of whiskey and you can personalize it to your specific individual tastes. So, like I can sit here and drink this Tamdu Batch 1 neat, no problem. It's
Love
great.
it. Great.
It's lovely stuff, but it is hot. I mean, it's a big bold whiskey. So, adding a little bit of water helps bring that alcohol content down, and it lets you get into some of the flavors that this glass might have to offer that you might not be able to access because of the high ABV kind of
Yep.
hitting your palate and masking some of those flavors.
Yep.
So you summed them up. I just read through them real quick again, and I think these 4 comments all come from people that have mature palates too. They're definitely they're not new to the Scotch whiskey drinking game, and so they've had a chance to explore their palate, and they understand that. But they all lean towards the higher ABVs, 46 and above, but with that saying, using water to come back down to something that's more approachable.
Hey, everybody, I mean, 60% ABV is hot. It burns. It's not,
But okay,
it's not always fun.
But let's ask the original question that you were saying, does it change the flavor? And it very much does. I mean, so you can get that neat right now, and it's got a flavor profile in it, but we put some water on it, it's going to change it. Not most of the time. Most of the time.
I guess your point is let's just call it a 46 ABV or even 50 ABV or around that 47, right in the middle. 47 ABV. You add some water to it, it's going to change that taste of that whiskey.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
You do the same thing with the 40, and it's going to change it.
It will.
But it a hell of a lot worse. More watered down. You put some water on
We've
this.
had some that were
Ruined it.
40%
I did.
that were actually.
I'm sure it would.
I did.
Well, but the question is, so if you take a 50, what is it,
58.8.
58.
and pull it down to 35, does it ruin it?
I think it can hold it more because of the higher ABV.
Well, so correct, but take a 40% and take it down to 30%.
And take a
And take a
58,
58 and take it down to 30%. Is it better or is it the same issue?
There's the baseline.
That's exactly
now
my point.
you're-
That's the money.
Water and ABV will influence flavor, period.
Correct.
But
Absolutely.
the higher ABV, you have more wiggle room.
Correct.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you right now. I did a glass of the King. I didn't put any water on it because it didn't need it. I wanted to taste it at 40%. Then I poured a glass of this Tamdu, and I can tell you that on the nose, it's wonderful. On the palate, it's great. But I can tell you right now, drinking that 40% and drinking this, I'm missing stuff in this glass. The 40% ABV, just because it's lower,
Yes.
the alcohol doesn't shock your palate, and so you
Sure.
can taste everything. When you take a sip of this,
Okay.
it shocks your palate, and it doesn't let you access all of those
Oh,
flavors.
fried the crap out of mine when we did that blind.
Oh yeah, we had to pause the video.
Yeah,
I was
So,
trying to do a Tamdu batch flight. I'm like, woo.
so guys, let's flash back. It's a roller coaster, right? Let's
Sure,
flash
right,
back
right.
the last 2 years, let's say.
Fair enough.
We have been on a cask strength ride, have we not?
Love it.
We've been loving it because
Absolutely.
it's been a learning experience for us. We've learned a lot more. Let me tell you something. I have come down. I am actually on the lower ABV right now because I'm starting to appreciate some of the finer, the easier drinking, smooth that I can get to, just like a Dalmore King. I can appreciate where it has right
Oh,
there.
that's so nice,
it's weird how you kind of go. It still goes back to your personal palate,
Yep.
and how things are. It's almost
Correct.
like I had a friend tell me once. He's a huge sushi lover. He's like, most people when I do it, when you get sushi, I put soy sauce and wasabi together and everything else, right? It's
Oh,
great.
man, I love
but
that
but
sashimi.
his thing is like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because I want to add the flavors. So he's like, that's not what it's intended for. He said the sushi maker made it like this way for you to eat it that way. Don't put that stuff on afterwards. So, is it safe to say that the
I don't know. I like
the
ketchup
distillery
on my
said,
fries.
"Hey, I made it at this."
It's like
Don't-
salting and peppering all of
Yeah.
your food before you taste it.
I think it's two different things. If you've got somebody that's bottling at cask strength, they either think that that's the optimum ABV to drink it at, or more likely they're saying experiment with it and find your level.
Right. I
know,
trust you as the drinker to
Find
figure out
the
the best
spot
way
that
to
you
drink
like
this.
the best. Because let's be fair, you're getting much more mature palates buying cask strength whiskey. Most newbies aren't going into a store and looking for a 60% ABV whiskey, right?
Correct.
But I think that a lot of the
That's a good point.
I agree with you that a lot of, I think, 40, 46, especially if you get in where they're like dialing it into a specific ABV, like they're doing that intentionally. They
Right.
think that is where it needs to be. And we've had a few that were like dialed straight in that wasn't a marketing
agree.
ploy
I
or
agree.
something crazy, you know what I mean? But they were dialed into a specific point, and they were good at that point, and then you put a little water on it and you're like, no, should have stayed.
So Jason Coates, come on, man. Is it a kilt or a skirt? I'm kidding, man. It's a good point. You're absolutely right.
So actually, to his point, and then also Sunday evening's point, I think it's a kind of a cool experiment we could do real quick. Why don't we pour this?
Sure.
All of us pour this if you can, or whoever can.
Tam do?
Yeah, and you pour 1 drop, I'll pour 2 drops, and let's just try and bring out the ABV and see if there's a big difference in flavor.
I can tell you right now, because I just put some water on this. Neat. It's good, but I can tell that I'm missing some stuff.
Get a different Scotch.
I put just
Get one of them SMWS.
just a little bit of water on there, and it brings down that alcohol content. I'm still at probably
52,
low
53.
50s, but I can get all the brown sugar and vanilla. I mean, it's just a so much richer, flavorful palate now.
Scotch 1's no joke. It's good.
Yeah.
So the thing to keep in mind is let's talk
you're absolutely right. I
to
know
John
I'm missing
Glazer.
something.
Let's talk to some of these master blenders. What do? They take a cask, they bring it down to 20% ABV. Every blender takes it to 20% ABV before they blend it, because that is where they get all the flavors out of it.
Well, and to be fair, like as a chef, I'm not making a dish and sitting down and eating a whole portion of it to see if it's okay. I'm tasting the sauce. I'm relying on my judgment and my experience to know that the seasoning is right, how I'm doing the fish is correct, everything is, done the way that I want to do it. And, I'm tasting things here and there and altering small things. And I'm sure that a master blender, it's kind of the same thing. You've done it forever. Mm-hmm. You know exactly what you're looking for. So when you're watering that down, I mean, number one, you're at work. You're not sitting there drinking 12 grams and getting smashed, right? Like, you need to take a little sip and make sure that the palate is lined up the way that you think it should be. And you need to do it at a level that's got a consistent basis. That's a baseline. You know what I mean? So taking it down to 20 or 30% makes sense. You're still going to be, in control of your faculties. Your palate's not burnt out.
Well, that's the key. Is that you can pull all the flavor nuances out of that whiskey at 20% ABV that you can't do at 60. You can't do it at 40, even 46%. You can't. So what they do is this is where the genius of a blender comes in. Is they can take a sample at 20% ABV and say, dude, that's coming in at 60. Ooh, yeah, I need to bottle that at 50. I could taste it at 20 and know that if I can sell it at 50, it's good stuff.
I don't know if they use the term dude in Scotland as much as we do here.
I would think that it's probably more like, I think that this is ready to bottle. The flavor profile is where I need it to be at. Let's taste it at a few different ABVs and see where the optimal ABV for bottling
Fair point.
is.
That may happen as well. Yeah.
So, very similar in ABV here, 58.3. I don't want to use this Tamdu because we've been all sipping on the Tamdu. Your palate's already tuned into this thing. So we're going to use a different Scotch. We're going to pour 4, and we're going to put different levels of water on them.
Okay.
And we're just going to go around the horn and see. All right.
Drop
So I'll pour the Scotch.
We got the. No, we gave that away.
There we go.
I'll pour the Scotch. Somebody else does the watering. Just use a cap. Use your cap full. 1 cap, 2 cap, 3 cap, 4.
We've got pipettes down there, I think. Didn't we get some pipettes?
Oh, I don't know.
We've used a lot of equipment over the years. You know what the problem's going to be? Different volumes of alcohol. If you want to be very precise, we should have had Dr. Scotch bring over some graduated
I'm pretty
cylinders.
close.
I could have
man.
brought a pipette from work.
I'm pretty close. You got a better hand than I do.
I could have put 5 mils of
I
each
trust
in
you.
there.
Now you say it.
Boop.
No,
I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think we're close enough.
I don't say anything. Guys. Nope. Have to wing it.
Wing it. And those
Scotch
are all-
on the Bayou has a very good point. There's a lot of variables that influence taste beyond ABV: environment, temperature, mood, time of day.
How many beers?
What you've eaten. I mean, all of that does have an impact. But I think ABV. I don't know that it has an impact on the flavor per se. I think it has a much more of an impact on how accessible flavors are.
Okay.
I think that is the key. I think
You got your
you have
water
just.
bottle?
Well, we got.
No, that water bottle you had.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the cap.
You're right. So I would say you're right. I think Sean just hit the nail on the head right there. Is the ABV will allow you to access different flavors from the same whiskey. So if you pull it out of the barrel and it's at
There's one cap.
60% ABV, as you add water,
Better do a 0 cap.
different flavors will come out. And so that's where
Shit,
your master blenders
Zero
will tell
cap.
you that
One
I
cap.
want this whiskey at a certain ABV because I can access these flavors that I really love. Yeah, if you pull it down to 20% ABV, you're gonna get different
So
different
hang on.
flavors.
0, 1,
What?
2.
He's doing his magic up
Let-
there.
Oh, sorry.
Hey man,
So
keep talking.
in a minute, Mark is going to tell us what his formula is for watering these whiskeys, so we know exactly what we're doing here.
So what's the ABV in this when you're watering down to?
58.3.
So for those on the podcast, Mark has started with a pour of 44. It's a Scotch Malt Whiskey Society bottle, 44.106, jam-packed with
Which is,
fruit and wood, which is a fantastic whiskey.
Yes. So
Craigellachie?
It's a 15-year-old
I think it is
whiskey.
Craig Allen. That's a damn good guess.
Dude, you're awesome.
He's the youngest SNWS member of the four of us. Well, because you're
Of
not
the-
even
of the
a
I'm
three
not
of us.
there.
So
I got 3 other guys I know.
still. Anyway, we've got this is neat. This is just, right out of the bottle. So 58.3. This is 1 bottle cap, 2 bottle cap, 3 bottle cap. So if you think about how much water's in the 3 bottle cap, I mean, they all started off with the same amount
This
of.
is probably about 25%.
Well, two drops or 2 caps.
Three caps in
Three
there?
caps. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably down.
It's above
It's
20.
58.
It's still above 20 though.
I'd
yeah.
say it's
Oh,
probably 30,
I-
30ish. That's
So
a lot.
I'm gonna
That's half.
start with the 3 caps.
And I think that's probably the right way to
Wow.
go.
Two.
Ooh, it's flavor. It's the
Keep
nose
them in
is
order, or
sweet.
we're gonna get screwed up here.
Do we need a?
I'm keeping my glass open.
The
here.
difference on the nose between those two is
Significant.
significant.
Pass it around.
Between
Andrew.
these two,
What's
not
what is
as
this one?
much.
Most water.
That's
caps.
that's 3 caps.
And then 2
Two
caps,
caps?
1 cap neat.
Ooh, this is it brings. It's like, it does. It tightens up.
Stand by.
That's interesting, man. I'm just hitting the nose right quick.
Exactly.
God, the richness on the nose on the 1 cap is really nice.
The 3 is much more
That tastes
aromatic
watered
on the nose.
It is watered down.
down. I know.
Dude, neat on this bottle is just. It's tight. There's no nose on it. It's weird.
That actually tastes better to me.
Okay, so there's 1 cap.
Well, because it's too watered down.
I'm gonna hold in my hand the
Wow. Okay, I like this one better than those.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is I don't know, what this is 2 caps or no, this is
One
1
cap.
cap. So this has brought it down from
Let me smell that
58
one more
to
time.
51.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
I can't believe how much water's on that. It's still very flavorful.
It's,
Right? That's
It gets really good.
right. All right.
So
So.
then try the neat.
The
And it's
nose
like,
and that's good.
Wow. So which one you got here? That's 2,
That's 2.
and that's 3.
That's 3. Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to get past the nose.
it is. It's just the neat is so Ben. I mean, I'll say you're great that you don't water them down, but the neat is just too tight. It doesn't have.
That's extremely
This
interesting.
3 is really nice.
Wow, though the neat. I don't know. That neat's really good. It's you gotta get past. You got a layer of that heat, but there's something cooking underneath there. And when you go, I'm gonna go back to that number 1 again because I think that heat layer is gone. I don't know if that sweet layer is still there like it was. Is this what is
That's
this?
a 3.
That's the 3.
I
I haven't
want the
tasted
1.
them yet. I haven't done any
I
tasting.
haven't tasted it.
You haven't?
To me, that's an interesting experiment. The 3 capfuls, which is probably down to about, I'm going to say 30% ABV,
What do you got?
still has a ton of flavor.
That's 2.
I
just had
in
3.
fact, I could get to a lot more flavor than I could with any of the other ones. Like, it was much more accessible just because I could get past the alcohol was pushed to the side and I could get to all the flavor that was left underneath, which was actually very interesting.
So
And then it tightened up as we went up in ABV.
Sure,
and,
sure,
And
expected.
by the time we got to the neat, now, I mean, you've got to give your palate time to adjust a little bit, but I don't think I could get to all the flavor that I got in the much lower ABV version
Nope.
because you just
can't
couldn't
get
get
past
to
the
it.
heat.
No, and even the
It's like a
one
force field.
capful was still very
That's right,
hot
this
and
case.
very potent.
This is the one.
2 and
Yeah,
3
me
actually seemed the optimal
I would
levels
agree.
to get to the flavor.
So let me ask this. I'm experiencing this. So is it possible to have 3 caps? This is what I'm saying. I'm saying I have 3 caps. Yes, it's definitely much tamer, and I'm getting at notes in there. 2 caps a little bit tighter, but it's like opened up a set of notes that I'm not really as fond of. If I put one more cap in, all of a sudden it got really good. But then at one, I like the nose. At 3, really love the nose. 2, not so much. 2,
Yeah, I agree with that one.
2, there was maybe it's just not the right level of water, but it
Yeah.
opened up a note at that level that I really didn't enjoy.
That is completely possible.
Yep.
Because based on the solubility of different compounds in the water versus alcohol, as you add water, certain compounds will come out on the nose. And so there are, everybody's nose has a different preference. So once you get, when you go through that range, you're gonna hit compounds that maybe you don't like, and
That's
that's
the neat.
absolutely possible.
I think the one is my favorite so far.
I would
No,
say
no way.
I didn't see a whole lot
Not to
of
me.
difference between the 1 and neat. I thought they were extremely similar,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it just needed to get to a level of ABV that you started getting some of those volatile chemicals coming out of solution to access on your nose and on your palate. And 2 had more, although the nose was very different, but there was more nose to get to on 2 capfuls. And then by the time I got to 3, it was a very different
So-
drink.
So what's going to happen here? Are we all going to fall off the high ABV wagon and go into the,
Well,
I don't
Tom.
think that. Well, the other part of this experiment is, you get to the high ABVs and it does shock your palate, but after a few sips of it, you start to get used to that level of ABV, and you do start to be able to get to some of those underlying flavors. But it's still
I would
not
agree.
as
It's not the same.
it's not as easy as
So
it is. You just put some water on it
they're
and
in
get
order
there.
3, 2, 1, neat. So I'll go and say I can definitely see why, as a blender, you're putting this together, why you would always water down to the same constant ABV.
Yes.
From
I
now
wanna
on, I'm
co-
all 25%.
I
whatever
want to
that may
compare
be.
apples to apples.
Right.
I
But
need
to me, I can't tell you right now what that ABV is for me. I'll tell you, I would have to get to know that. I would have to actually start measuring this and find out what it is, because I think it varies. It's amazing to me the difference of these.
It
Honestly,
completely,
With this bottle and where I am right now, I really am liking the most watered down one.
Really?
Which is
Oh,
pretty
me
sad.
too.
Yeah.
It's got
Um,
it's got depth.
But
It's got
I think
layers.
that
Yeah.
also depends on what you're drinking, which is why they bring it down to a very low, consistent level, so that you are comparing apples to apples. And so if you watered down any other bottle that we have on the bar
Yeah.
to the same level of ABV, it's going to show different traits and different volatiles and
Yes.
a whole different experience than that one will. And then if you're blending and you're mixing them together, that kind of lets you know where you're at as far as, what flavor profiles are coming
So
out.
let me
and
ask the
standing out.
question, and how do you guys feel about our ratings and how we rate a Scotch when we talk about how it holds water or how water affects it?
I think it's a different. It's apples and oranges, because for us, for our rating system, we are rating it based off of if I am an average consumer going to the store, buying a bottle and opening it up and pouring a dram, right? And
Correct.
so most average consumers are either going to drink it neat, or they're going to put a little water on it, or maybe have some ice, right?
That's
They're not
exactly
going to
it.
measure anything. They're not going to get it down to a
Nope.
specific ABV. They're just going to pour a little bit of water on and
Well,
go for it, and that's
fair
what we
point.
do. We do
That's
it
our
like
mold.
anybody else that is buying that bottle
Yep.
is going to do it.
That's a very good point. What we
So
do.
so I in this last Sunday we had a Super Bowl party. We had 2 non-Scotch drinkers come by, want to get introduced to Scotch.
I was one of them.
I pretended to be.
In both cases,
Kilchoman. I've never
Teapot.
heard of that
What's- you
before.
tea- Teapot?
so between the two of them,
tea.
they had different experiences with whiskey. They were different ages, all that kind of stuff. And so we started with some fairly basic whiskeys, and I learned that one was like, this is good. I need a little water. One was, this is too hot. I needed a rock or a little piece of ice in there to dilute it and to cool it down. And so that's going to be your typical. You're going to have. I can't drink even 40% ABV because I've never done it before.
Right.
And most people haven't. And so that's I think we need to maintain that consistent formula.
I'm not trying to break it, but it does make me think more about how I perceive these and how I drink whiskey. I mean, it's easy to do. We all can handle high ABV. We can eat whiskey. That's not a question anymore. And it's easy for me to just drink it that way because I don't have to mess around with water. I'm sitting in a recliner with the 65-inch TV in my face, shooting people on Xbox, and I'm just like, pour a little bit, rain a little bit. I don't need to go find some water to put on this, but
if I wanted to, I could.
But to your point, though, you're not going to pour something really, really good and do that. You're probably going to want to experiment. I've seen you pour something and let it last for 20 minutes before you even touch it.
That's true. And believe me, next to my recliner, the little table right there, I actually have one of the little sample bottles that we use, for mailings and whatnot, or sharing, and it's just full of water. And if I take a sip of whatever I've got poured, I'm like,
nope.
She just needs the edge. There's just an edge in there. I'm not saying I'm not enjoying it, but I know if I knock this edge off, it's gonna freaking open up.
And that right there is experience.
Right.
That is you knowing your palate and knowing what you like and having done it a lot.
Right.
And tasting that whiskey and saying, you know what, it's good, but it could be better. And putting 3 drops of water on it, and it's going to open it up and be more than it is right now.
All right, guys, let's get back and wrap this up. So,
Mike, thank you.
Does it change the flavor of Scotch?
Absolutely.
Completely.
That's not debatable.
Completely.
Okay.
But now, what's the right answer for you? That's for you.
Changes
to find out.
with every day of the week and every Scotch you're drinking.
I can say without a doubt at all that what we're doing and what you guys are doing with us, 100%, everything's based on opinion.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Your palate, your opinion, and what you like doesn't matter.
Yep.
We're just sharing our thoughts with you, and I can tell you without a doubt also, water does affect your whiskey.
But I can also tell you without a doubt that Tam Dubac's one is legit.
It's legit. It's legit. All right, guys.
The key is, we're dummies. I don't want you to think that you have to spend a lot of time analyzing every glass you pour. Enjoy your glass.
Yeah.
The key is you take a sip of that glass. If it doesn't hit you right, add some water. Add a rock. Add whatever you want to make it what you want. But I don't want you to. I don't want there's like this. Oh well, I've got to analyze every time. I want to add one drop, taste it, add another drop, taste it to go the proper. No,
just enjoy your whiskey.
You take a hit of it. If it doesn't work, alter it.
But you
add
know
water,
what?
Add whatever.
Back to the comments on the Patreon post that you put.
Yes.
The good point is about buying high ABV whiskey is you get more whiskey for your dollar. Guess what? You're going to get more drams out of this because you're going to put a little bit of water on.
I'm not.
Well,
I'm going to get the exact same amount of drams.
But I mean, so I tend to go with the higher because it allows me to wrap it into where I want it to be. But not saying a 40% ABV cannot be delicious. Point.
Yeah,
40. So anyway.
Good.
Hell of a show, guys.
10 minutes over. Sorry we took it over because we had to do
guys.
this little bitty thing, but it was fun.
Hey, by the way, do you know we have, I think, is it 2 or 3 seats left in the bus?
I think we're at 3 still. We haven't pushed anything this week, I don't believe.
Not new seats, no.
No, so 3 empty seats on the bus. I'm very confident the 3 are going to go. So if you're on the fence about it, you better pull the trigger now. I can tell you this.
So much fun.
We actually have a place to stay in Inverness the night before the tour starts.
Yeah, we
booked
do.
that this week.
Sort of like the Batcave.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's wrap this up.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting and watching us. We appreciate you guys. Look for the reviews on Mondays. Obviously, the lives, you know where those and when.
And podcasts come out
sometime
periodically.
Friday
gets to them.
Subscribe, bell. You guys know all that stuff. We appreciate all the super chats tonight from everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, guys.
Happy Thursday.
Go watch some Rick and Morty.
I think we should.
Season 1? Yeah.